Welcome back to Just Ask George. David Wolf here, affiliate banker with BH Capital, accompanied as always by the head dude.
The head dude right here, and the co-dude, I might add. We've had a little hiatus of late.
We had a hiatus. We were biatusing. We had a spring break. Let's just say we had
biatusing. That could be a whole new term. Let's see.
Because we said goodbye for a little while and we came back.
Yeah, well, our fans need to know that I was on the road doing some field inspections. You'd been doing some traveling and inspection of potential new enterprises and opportunities. And we had a pretty solid backlog of our shows, so it allowed us to really miss Fridays, which has been a big void in my life because we don't have lunch together.
I'm really glad we're back, and after all, as long as there's food at the end of the line, I'm in. It's good. It's in the nature.
And listen, we might tell everybody why everything sounds different today.
We added a compression scheme for those audio files at home that are also interested in corporate finance. We're now being compressed before our audio hits the stream, so hopefully it sounds better and you'll learn more.
That's the whole point.
We're here today. By the way, you might not all know that George Lovato Jr. is the author of this book, The Obstacle Course. We've mentioned it many times during our arc of program production.
Backed by popular demand.
Backed by popular demand. The book really, it does a lot in terms of you're sharing your story, your personal journey, the obstacle course, when you first set out to start your companies, get them funded, eventually take them public. And so there's this narrative that's fascinating, and it covers a lot of ground, which really set the stage for merchant banking, if I understand it.
Absolutely true. The whole idea of the book is to give the reader sort of a multi-layered informational stream on management, the indicators of what you need, when you need it, how to identify the type of financing you need, some basic management rules or guidelines in running your business, your growing enterprise, and then ultimately the techniques themselves of finance. At a very young age, I was exposed to having to be my own banker and how to figure all that out. I talk in the book about the construction of my very first business plan. Oh, and just to think about it.
Well, I know it
makes me cringe.
Every time you talk about that first business plan, and this is comforting to a lot of folks listening, even now look where you are. When you look back at that thing,
oh, God, I still have it.
What was wrong with it? Can I just ask the broad question?
How much time have we got?
Structure?
Well, first of all, it was poorly written.
All right, so grammatically,
this is pre-PC almost.
Right.
This is like this is like when PCs are just coming into vogue in the early '80s, and
word perfect.
Oh
yes.
yeah, the lack thereof,
or word imperfect.
So there were typographical errors. There were the projections weren't fully scaled out.
Okay.
The description of how we were going to run the business of the business was very good. That was about that was the only good paragraph in the entire thing.
Paragraph.
Which was,
I just wanted to hit it quick, but yeah.
It just everything that you shouldn't do when you write a business plan and you're going to present for a financing proposal was there. But fortunately, I had a great banker, and he was our family friend, and he understood what we were going to do, and he really knew we were going to make money. So we kind of looked past that, and we were able to move that forward. But you start to, when you think about some of those things, you roll your eyes in the back of your head and go, oh my God.
Of course. And certainly because you're very critical of your own work and those that work with you, and in a good way. I mean that in a good way. The obstacle course is a say this faster, treasure trove of information and experience that you're sharing. What compelled you to write it in the first place? How did you arrive at the place where you wanted to share this?
Oddly enough, over the years, after I had started that rental car business, which became a hotel business, and we connected regional airlines together, it was called Rent Right, Rest Right. Ultimately, we changed the corporate name to TravelSys. People would ask me, how'd you do that? I mean, I can't tell you the number of times in the first 5 years of that business. How did you finance this? And it would be friends, it would be customers. How did you get this off the ground? Where did you go to get the money? Looking back and answering those questions, I really didn't see it as any great feat. But here you are, a 22, 24-year-old kid who's never been in business before.
I mean, you really had to feel your way through this process. As you read the book, you get somewhere, turn a corner, there's an emotional thing, there's their partners and their reactions, and you sort of framing your reaction differentiated from theirs. There's a lot of interesting. I mean, we're dealing with people. We're emotional creatures in business trying to make it all happen. Anyway, so you're really feeling your way through.
Really feeling my way through it. And my father had been my partner in another business, and I was really learning from him on the go, on the fly, so to speak. And so getting this thing off the ground was very, very, very challenging. One, I had to learn about finance. I had to learn about starting up a business. I had to learn about people. I had to learn about partners. I had to learn about how to organize everything that I was doing on a daily basis, because I didn't come out of the Wharton School of Management. Okay?
Right.
I've attended executive classes and later on in my career, but at this point, I'm a 22, 24-year-old kid, bouncing around in the dark continually. And so when I was asked that question, subsequent to the question, people would say, you really need to write a book about this. And that, because at the end of the first part of the story, which was when the company finally gets public, it was pretty dramatic. I mean, the whole arc of this story was very dramatic, because there were so many times we were staring into the abyss, and so many times that people were taking advantage of us, and so many times I was learning new things on the fly and trying to apply them, and I was dealing with big corporate America. I was dealing with American Airlines. I was dealing with Ford. I was dealing with, these big mammoth corporations, and they have their way about doing business, and I was having to learn how to adapt to all of that. So,
did you think of yourself as the little guy dealing with the big guy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because it was so starkly apparent how minuscule I was, this little teeny tiny little dot on the planet. So when it was told to me enough, I started keeping a journal. Through the, and as I did, and I went back when I did start it. I went back,
right, because it wasn't real time,
right?
Sure.
And I put that in, and then so I was pretty good about keeping the dates and the times and the people, and of course some of the names in the book are changed to protect the guilty,
right?
And so
absolutely, the innocent, we're happy to put their name in.
Yeah, exactly, and the good guys, but it's the first part of the book is that sort of the learning process, the excitement, the passion. You're onto something right, and then it's the entry of learning about people, and then I'm back to the business plan again, about planning. That was the basis of how the business was launched, and then I had a lot of good mentors. A guy named Gino taught me about projection, something that I'd been taught a long time before. And I applied that, and I still apply it today. I tell all my affiliates about the importance of projection. I pound it every week, every day, tell them how useful a tool that is in business.
Projections for the affiliates' own business of business development, and also for their clients.
Exactly.
Both levels,
exactly.
Of course.
Here's a business that in its first month did this little used car rental operation, grossed about $10,000, and then it just kept on going. And it just kept on going. By the third month, we were making money.
How would you describe, if I were to ask, why did it work so well?
Well, in the local marketplace, there was really no other competition in the used car rental car market, but my concept was different in that I was going to blend, used cars that looked like the new cars that Hertz, Avis, National, and Budget were renting. They were this, they might have been 3 years older, but they were the same body style. And you got to look to see the difference. And unless you're paying attention to the odometer, which most people don't, they just get in the car and drive off.
Right.
I was getting about 20% less than the new car but I had a car that cost me a third as much.
So it was a financial model. This model hadn't been done.
Had no clue of the term financial model.
But you just knew that, hey, if I'm buying it for a third less than the other guys, I'm going to make more money.
And then over time, we blended new cars into the fleet.
You did blend new, that's right.
And the reason for that was because we had high usage vehicles that needed, especially in the wintertime for ski packages and so on and so forth. People wanted four-wheel drives. They wanted something reliable in the middle of the mountains. So we kept those cars longer. Rather than cycling them out like the new guys do at 12 months, we'd keep them in 36.
Did you price the new ones differently, or was it a uniform pricing model?
Because they were specialty vehicles, they were priced competitively with the rest of the marketplace.
Wow.
So all of a sudden there was this little company in town that could offer really nice cars, 20, some cases 30% less, and met the demand for the seasoned traveler that wanted to spend leisure time in New Mexico. And as a result, listen, we started this business, which way back when, this is pre-internet, an independent car rental company survived by his Yellow Page ad and by referrals from the other guys when there was overflow. We missed the deadline for our Yellow Page ad.
I remember this story.
Yeah, so that had something to do with the lack of planning. And I talk about in the book about how important it is to know the universe. And as a result of that, bingo, we were starting handicap, but by the third month it made money. And there was a point in time when there was another very large corporation that was in the leasing and rental car business, was down the street. We had a relationship with them. And they said, we're getting out of the business. We're closing our doors. So I said, hey, can I buy your telephone number?
Yep. Love it. So you were ready for those kinds of serendipitous moments, Providence, where that was an opportunity just presenting itself and you got it.
Right.
You knew you needed it. You plugged it in.
Plugged it right in. And then the first winter came, and all of a sudden business starts to go up because we had planned the fleet for the wintertime. We had more four-wheel drive vehicles. We had 15 passenger vans, and we were filling that void. We just grew. And then we developed a relationship with a big travel brokerage house, and then they started flooding us with business. So we actually coming in, so this hits us in year 2, okay, we do get our Yellow Page ad, okay. We still kept that old number that we bought. So we were still getting return business, okay, from that. We had this relationship with a large travel brokerage, and kaboom, then business just exploded.
And you had multiple locations at a certain point in time?
We started out with a couple of different locations in town to kind of serve the hotel market. So we kind of did it on the fly. When you think back, there was planning, but it was more up here. It wasn't done on paper. And in making that money, now it became, hey, we've got to manage our profit. Where does our profit go? Does it go into buying more fleet? Does it go into expanding our facilities, our capacities, our ability to provide maintenance to ourselves? Those cash flow management elements, those issues with having to finance more of the fleet, the credit issues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We had to deal with that. And then finally, as the business, I could see, this is really a good model. We could essentially cookie cut this and sell this as a product in and of itself. One, the new and used car combination, how it was we connected the travel brokerage, and then ultimately I wanted to get on the airline reservation systems, which was an unheard of thing, and I needed finance. So, I acted as my own CFO, and not only had I done the initial finance of the business, now I was taking it to the next level. So all of those things happened very quickly, and in the book, when you read it, it's like this, and that's actually how it did happen. It happened very, very fast. And so my partner, my original partner, Terry, was, he was fantastic at managing the daily operations and sales. He was unbelievable. He would bring in more business and more business and more business, and to the point where we were looking at our reservation calendar, and we were 3 months out. Sounds pretty incredible, but that's
beautiful.
That's how gifted he was in that role. And so there came the basis. Okay, all the mistakes I'd made, all the things you shouldn't do, and I had journaled all this. And then I'm finally going, well, this is looking like a story, but that's only half of it. Because then, as I said, okay, now we're going to take this and expand this company nationally. Now comes another dimension of challenge and very highly technical methods of finance, more challenging management techniques that I had to learn, and then the addition of mentors and a lot of bad people and a whole host of bandits. And despite that, then we progress to the next level, which will be part 2 of this
That'll be
program.
part 2. And so it's all wrapped up in here. It's told in your voice, which is beautiful because you really get this sense that you're following you through literally an obstacle course. It's interesting that you experienced it as it's written somewhat rapidly or very rapidly. The scale up happened. This is a wonderful for anybody at any stage business to just kind of be the little yellow guy on your shoulder, learning like you did from your mentors.
Yeah,
and it's a great experience.
This is sort of a way to pay it forward, but I'm still asked, does the book teach you about how to finance your business? Well, yes, it does that, but it also helps you incorporate the methods of management so that you can determine what you do need. And that's effectively the part 2 of this series
in terms of our exactly. So the Obstacle Course, the book by George Lovato Jr. Of course, you can find it at obstaclecoursebooks.com. Did I get that right?
You got it.
Folks, thanks for joining us. Part 2 is coming up here. We're going to cut it right away, and we'll move right into that conversation.
Another good show.
See you next one. Bye.